Okay, we're going live apparently. And then an error occurred. So I think that's lying. I'm going to assume that you can see me and hear me. And you can probably hear some kind of background noise. This is actually not the background noise I was talking about when I first started this. When I set up the stream information. This is actually someone else. This is something across the road. So if the workmen at my house start kicking up a noise again, you'll really notice it. Hey everybody. So the main thing, the news that we have is we are live with execution support. It's been a long journey that's taken many winding courses around through trying using Docker first of all as an isolation technology, then trying to briefly looking at my own, then concentrating on Firejail. Now we're moving to something called NSJail, or we're likely to. And hello everybody, sorry, first and foremost, hi everyone. I'm just so kind of in a weird, excited, but also relieved sort of situation where we're actually live. And so far, nothing seems to have gone wrong. I'm sort of keeping half an eye on what's going on in here. So this is just me like tailing the log file across multiple instances. And we can see the sandbox execution thing is what I am... what I'm searching for to see if we're actually executing stuff. This is a very poor man's statistics, but if I search for just sandbox execution, we can see that's what's happening. I can graph that over time, and you can see that like over the last hour or so, we're getting like a few every minute or so. It's pretty exciting, but obviously I think as news gets out. Thank you. Glad to hear it, Gareth. Yay! This has been such a team effort. So we've been many people that have contributed to this over the years. I mean, literally, when did this bug get filed? Support execution of compiled binaries, which is actually still pinned. I should probably unpin that. Yeah, no need to pin that anymore. We're done. We are finished with all of the bugs now that we have to deal with. So this was. Commented on May 16, 2017, but this has been around for a long time. Floor writing this essay to cover. Oh my golly, look at all this, and it's now gone. We're finished. Hooray! But of course, it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. So we now have a new bug here. Excellent. Did anyone break it since Sunday? Nobody has broken it that I know. The only person I know who has done anything to break out of the jail is one of the people, Austin, who was actually helped make the jail in the first place. And so we still have a few things that we know are dodgy in the /run directory. Let me just log into one of these instances. Prod instances, log in. So I can compromise a bit better on screen real estate there. Let's pick one. Let's pick the C5 large. It's got the most CPU. Hello. Okay, so unbeknownst to me, a whole bunch of stuff lives in /run, and in /run, all of these are Unix domain sockets, and Unix domain sockets are something we still allow, and I'm not sure if it's easy for me to stop them from being used, but that would be a good blanket thing to stop. But there's a whole bunch of information in there. And by default, Firejail being really designed for interactive processes. It's meant to be jailing things like your web browser or processes like video players and things that you kind of maybe don't want to trust, and you just like, okay, well, I'm going to run my VLC, the media player, in its own jailed environment, but it still needs to interact with the system a little bit, right? And so by default, Firejail has sort of got a set of relatively permissive things in communicating with the outside world, like logging and stuff like that. So, excuse me, I have got a bit of a cold today as well. So it allows a lot more stuff in /run than I would normally like. And unfortunately, we can't just block everything in /run because Firejail uses /run itself to sort of bootstrap itself. So there's some issues there. Ideally, we'd move to a chroot jail approach, but that has its own problems. Thankfully, Austin is taking a look at using a different technology called NSJail, which is by Google. And this looks like it does everything that we would want it to do that Firejail is doing, but it's very much more based around the kind of things that, the kind of use cases that we have, which is like running untrusted code as opposed, directly untrusted code. But yes, it's working, and we're in a good spot. So I'm excited. But of course there are problems. And I now have a new tag. Hurrah! This execution tag here, which is now showing the bugs. Sorry, I'm still. Let's just drink some tea and have a think about what I'm going to say before I say it. But yes, Luca, it's alive and around. And I think Oliver has the first tweet that uses this to demonstrate something useful. So thank you, Oliver, for that tweet. You do want to link it in the chat so everyone can go and see what your clever NRVO usage. I'm excited, but there are problems. Any programmer, yes, that is exactly right. And if you're not sort of scared by what you're doing, especially when you're allowing arbitrary code to run on your infrastructure, then you're probably doing it wrong. So these two, actually, we should get rid of the beta tag. Label beta. No beta tags for you. Yay. Okay. So the one that I would like to look at is this LD library path to appropriate libraries. The thing that I originally had planned, I'll be honest with you, is so Luca's asked the question, do I have any limits to the execution so people don't just write something that will kill your wallet? Yes, that has been the real goal of this, is to how does one realistically prevent too much abuse of a system. And so there is a whole bunch of rules that allow like limited resources to the processes that are running, and then specifically you get like 2 seconds of wall clock time, just over 2 seconds of actual CPU time, 4 threads. I think we allow 4 file handles open at once. The biggest file you can create is like a couple of meg. Some relatively straightforward, simple things to lock you down and prevent you from monopolizing the system. So that should be good enough. It should be good enough, but we'll see. That we may have to raise those limits. I mean, originally my compilation limit was like 2-3 seconds, and now it's at like 30 seconds because people like to throw giant programs into Compiler Explorer, which is, of course, not its sweet spot. But then if you're using Boost, then really you are throwing a giant program at it, even if you're looking at a snippet. So I kind of see why that's important. But yes, as I was going to say, my initial intention was to work in this execute-only mode. But the amazing and inestimable Ruben has already started work on this and has got a pull request that is partially, or if not fully, implementing it. We've got some comments to make on it, but I'm not going to subject poor Ruben to a code review. A public code review, shall we say? That's not fair. And my cat's just saying hello. She's been very off with me. Yeah, what do you want? So I'm making a bit of a fuss of her down here because she's been ignoring me all day and most of yesterday. What? Do you want to come up and see everybody? You probably don't. Hello everyone, this is Shenzi. You know, I don't know if you can see her, but anyway, she may well, no, she's going to go. All right, so that was what I was going to plan on doing, and I will definitely look at that pull request of Ruben's in a bit. But this one, I think, is the way I need to do. Is there a way of only using parts of Boost? All I want is the sockets and the string paths for now. Yes, you only include the bits you use, but Boost is very good at including other bits of Boost. So, you know, you may watch the string parser, but before you know it, it needs some other aspect of Boost. Now, there is definitely some aspects of Boost that can be used like literally standalone. And if you look at the, oh gosh, what's it called? Excuse me. Gosh, my cat smells. Ugh. If you look at the Conan libraries, I think for Boost, they have they've broken it down into several little pieces, and I think one of my friends was working on making Boost more standalone-y. But yeah, there's and Olaf has answered in the chat as well. Yeah, for large programs, a local install is definitely the way forward. But obviously, people like to use links and share them around, which is great. So, anywho. I will try and keep enough on track to actually do some programming today, otherwise I'll just be talking at you, which I'm also happy to do. I don't think we have ASIO standalone inside Compiler Explorer, for what it's worth. But, you can see I was testing whether we can compile LLVM intermediate representation and execute it, and we can, to the limit of which I can handwrite intermediate code. I'm just literally returning the value 3 there. Cool. And you can see we're getting more executions. It's very exciting. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I was going to graph this. Oh, I did graph it, didn't I? I can't remember what I'm doing. I'm just so excited. So excited. And also, nothing seems to have gone wrong, touch wood. Very quotable stream so far. Excellent. Well, there you go. And what am I going to do? I think over here I've got my console, and where are we? Oh, let me bring this over so you can see. This is something I need to keep an eye on, is how many nodes we've got running. And at the moment we've got 1, 2, 3 prod nodes running. That's okay-ish. One of the things that's probably going to change is the amount of load that we're putting onto the machine. So in fact, why don't we run top on on one of the compilation nodes? So this is one of the more powerful compilation nodes, and you'll see from time to time things like Node.js appear, and yeah, execution spiked, yeah, and whatnot. So this is like, load average of 0.75 is higher than I'm used to seeing, and we use load average as an approximation for how many nodes we need to have running, how many instances I should really call them, because node is a confusingly overused term. But this is, so we have 3 instances running, and that is a function of how busy each of the instances are and how much of their CPU time is being used. And of course, now that we're getting a bit more interest and executing people's code, for some of the executions we actually need to do the compile twice. So let me show you what I mean by that. Oh, I'm getting all off track here. So for example, here I've got an undefined reference to main. So let's just write a main function and return square of 34, sure, whatever. So what has happened here is we've had to compile the program twice. Once we compile it and we say, please just output the assembly code, because we need, without this binary mode on, we actually just go away and use the compiler and get its output, because there are extra sort of information that's in here that we use. We parse it, and we sometimes the compilers put comments in there. For example, if we go to Clang 8.0, you'll see that the compiler will put some of its own comments in here, which are not very useful here, but sometimes it's extremely useful. Also, if you do like -f verbose asm, which people have asked about being putting on by default, actually. Oh, that didn't work. Let's see what GCC trunk does. Yeah, here you can see like GCC puts some extra comments in there. Those are the kind of things that we can't get if we compile it to binary and then disassemble it. We lose that information. So we need to compile it to the intermediate form of just the ASM, and then in order to run the program, we also need to compile it and into a binary. Now, if we were very clever, we would just assemble the ASM, but we're not. We just run the compiler again, and this time we just say, no, make it executable, because then we get all of the extra flags and things that we might need, like, for example, LTO flags or link flags and all that kind of nonsense. So at the moment, when you're doing this, I think we're about to be noisy again. I can hear the water has just been turned on for the pressure washer, which the folks are using. But I think, are they going around the front of the house? They are. Excellent. All right, we might be okay noise-wise. So as I say here, what's happening is we compile it once for assembly, and that's the thing that's going to appear in this window. Then, because we're executing it, we need to compile it again, and then we get a binary, which we then run. So you can see there's a whole bunch more work going on for this than there used to be. Now, with the not that one, with the one that Ruben's with the compilation only thing that Ruben's working on, we may be able to get past that, because we'll just have a window which just shows the output. So it'll just be like an execute the code please, Bob, and then we know that we won't need to do an assembly version of it. We just need to do the binary version, and that'll help a bit as well. So the question here, I think, which I may have covered, it's just we're out of sync, is that why not just assemble the ASM? There's a ton of extra flags potentially that need to go to the linker. So for example, if I do -p thread in here, then I'm telling the system as a whole, hey, I need threads, and that goes both to the compiler and to the linker. So if I assemble the code, I get a .o file, then I have to link the .o file. So it can be done, of course it can be done, but it's trickier than you might think, because these are command line options that are passed through the compiler, and the compiler then turns them into assembler and linker directives, which aren't obvious for me to get back out again. And Pantufel has replied in there, and I'm going to be suffering today, I'm afraid. So, yay. Let's go and have a look at this LD library path issue. This execution needs LD library path to appropriate libraries. Yes, let me show you what I mean by this. So the very first thing that you might want to do is go to Clang, not RISC-V Clang trunk, because that's definitely not going to work. We don't support executing non-x86 anytime soon. Let's pick up just the regular Clang trunk, and here we are with the same result. Programs return 132. Why don't I actually make this slightly more interesting and include, you know, everyone's favorite love to hate IO streams, and we're gonna actually just go std cout 34 times 34 equals square n. Hurrah! And now we get to see the beautiful output, and you know, we're not even using the SDL here. Well, we are, I guess. IO stream is SDL, but so the compiler explorer could run the first ASCII version of the path tracer. Oh my god, you're absolutely right, Andreas. Something like that. That would be super cool, wouldn't it? Not in 2 seconds. I don't think we get a very high quality image, but something I've been doing with my kids. And have I still got this here? Oh, where did it go? Locate man. Oh yeah, there it is. Mandel is a Python script that does an ASCII. Sorry, this we're going to get so distracted today. This is just not going to be a regular thing. You know, I did a Python version of the Mandelbrot set generator with the kids just to show them how that worked. And I imagine we could do something similar to that. And yeah, please, if you find something cool like that, I would love to see it. So go do it. So the question there was like, could we use run stuff that prints out ASCII? And we can. And of course, one thing we might do or be able to support, even if just locally, is serving up binary files that come back out. People already ask, hey, can I get the binary? You know, the thing that I'm actually running here. That would be one thing. And then as soon as we can like download binary files at all, we could potentially stash away the results. You know, if you want to output a bunch of stuff and download it. So I don't know. It's a thought. I'm sure it'll open up all sorts of further attacks. Anyway, we're going to be we're now 20 minutes into the stream, and I haven't even explained what it is I'm going to try and achieve today. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, hey, you know what? This is great, but by default on Linux at least, Clang uses GCC's standard library. So this is linking with libgcc, libstd.c++, compiling and linking with libstd.c++, which comes from GCC, which we can see if I click this button here. This shows all of the compilation options that went into the output here. Oh, cool, Gareth, you should go and take a few minutes. There's, I recommend going and looking at, is it 3 blue, 1 brown? I think it's something, maybe he covers it. There's an excellent channel on YouTube that talks about what the Mandelbrot set is and why it's so cool. And maybe it wasn't that. But find something on YouTube. We watched it with the kids. They were like, oh, that's cool. And even they understood what the heck was going on. It's very cool. Oh, no, it wasn't 3.1 blue. It was number file. Number file, I think. Yes. Anyway, go have a look. It's really cool. And it's all of like, I mean, literally. Like, that's the difficult part. That is the Mandelbrot set bit. There, those few lines of code. Everything else is just actually printing out nonsense to do with it. So 3 brown, 1 blue. Yeah, both of them. Yeah, it's a great channel. I think the one that I actually saw was on number file, which is also excellent. Oh, Ruben, you're there. Hello. I was just saying that we're looking forward to your PR, but I'm not going to put you through a public review of the code. I know that Pantufel has already been looking at it as well. So anyway, both 3 blue, 1 brown, and number file are tremendous. So yeah, number file's great. So anyway, back to this. You can see these are the options that are actually passed to the compiler, and I think this is a Ruben feature, if I remember rightly. And in here somewhere you should see that, yes, we're passing GCC toolchain equals this thing. And that tells it that that's where GCC should be found, which then allows Clang to define GCC's libraries so that it can link with libstd.c++ and include the files from there. Now that's great because it means that you get interoperability on a Linux system if you build some code with GCC and some code with Clang. But if you're purely going to be building with Clang and you don't care about that, you probably want to use Clang's own implementation of libc, libc++, which means I'm going to do -std_lib equals libc++. And you'll notice we compile, hopefully, and we run, and many things happen down here in the output window. Oh, Andres has got a link. I'm going to click on it. Andres, it's going to appear over for everyone to see. Oh my word. That's amazing. There you go. That's so cool. If you tweet that out, I will retweet that. That's brilliant. Thank you. Now we know what my what Compiler Explorer is really going to be used for. I mean, obviously the worry was that if we give much more than 2 seconds, then people are going to start like mining Bitcoin or the local equivalent. That's so cool. Oh, okay. I see. Okay, Ruben. All right, well, I might do, but I want to look at this because this seems like a discrete problem that we might be able to solve in the time that we have. And also, it's worth mentioning, this is my last Tuesday afternoon live stream because next week on Monday I start a job, which is obviously great in terms of mortgage payments, but it's kind of sad in terms of this kind of stuff, which I've had so much fun doing. And it's partly the reason why, even though it's a bit rough around the edges, I've decided to release the execution support today, as it gives me several days of like cleaning up and tidying behind the scenes before I lose like concentrated time on it, and I have to go away and spend time on my real job. So cool, thank you, Andreas. Yeah. So it's sad, and for those who've asked as well, and I've been a bit coy about it, only because there were some complicated aspects to the way my previous job ended and the way that I picked up my new job. I will be working for a hedge fund run by some friends of mine, or rather with employing some friends of mine. It's a very small startup, and I'm looking forward to getting somewhere right at the beginning. There's literally 4 people there at the moment. I think there's going to be like low tens of people by the end of the year, say. And it's in finance, which is cool, certainly in terms of, again, mortgage payments and all those kinds of things. And it's a really groovy bunch of people. I've already pre-approved all of like my conference talks and going to conferences and Compiler Explorer work and things like that. And they seem very relaxed and groovy, so I'm excited. I'm very excited to have a job again, but I will be sad that I won't be doing this kind of stuff. But anyway, so we try and link with libpthread. We link with libc++, and for whatever reason, that means that we don't pick up pthread. Pthread is the library that provides thread support in Linux. Now, we can do -pthread here as well, and I don't know why we need to supply this, because we don't with GCC. And now it compiles. It compiles, and we can see the output here. Thank you, Oliver. The finance industry is what it is. It's definitely a different world. When one sits down and sort of tries to evaluate one's benefits to the world, working for finance does give one pause to reflect a little bit. But hopefully the stuff that one does outside of one's day job can kind of make up. And for what it's worth, I don't think that anything that I've ever worked on is anything but above board and completely net neutral, if not tiny positive. But still, finance is definitely not. It's not a clear place where that you're doing good for the world. But there it is. Okay, confessional over. What we're seeing now is that we're linking correctly, hooray, but output.s, error while loading shared libraries, libco, blah, 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 no such file or directory. So let us reproduce this locally on my local machine. So I'm going to pick up all of that. So I have the same compilers installed on this machine, thanks to the crazy script that goes away and installs them all. Quite a lot of them. Yeah, more than I can be bothered to wait for anyway. Yeah. So I'm going to cat to temp and test.cc. Looks like I've done it a few times before, doesn't it? And then we're going to run, and this is opt Compiler Explorer clang. I think 391 might be a bit old. So let's go for 8. Have I got that? Yeah. Bin clang ++ dash stud lib equals libc++. Right, Gareth, exactly, yeah. So yeah, it's sometimes a bittersweet thing. Yes. libstd equals c++ dash p. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see if I run the compiler locally that I need, whether I need pthread or not. I'm going to add out temp test.cc. See, isn't that interesting? We didn't need dash pthread when I ran locally. And I don't know why that is. I don't know why that is. Well, that's another one for a mystery. I actually have a separate bug for that, which is that why do we need pthread? Where is it? Execution sometimes needs libpthread. It's not really execution, it's linking. So that is interesting to me. So why don't we take a quick detour to have a look at that and pick out, we're going to pick out all of the other things as well as stdlib equals libstd c++. I'm going to paste in all of those things. Clang 8 unsupported x86 ASM syntax equals Intel. That's, oh, because I missed out a dash here, air dash MLM. Well, that's bewildering, if you ask me. Excuse me. That's bewildering. It could be Clang trunk. Yeah, good point. Let's go Clang 8. Let's compare like with like. Thank you, Juvenile. And yeah, that's odd, isn't it? This is interestingly using GCC 8's LD, and I wonder if we're using that here. I am passing in opt compiler explorer GCC 830, which I think I do have. I do, so it should be using the same linker and the same compiler and everything. So it does say use -v to see invocation. So why don't we do -v on the remote machine. And then we're going to do the exact same thing here with -v. And do a bit of a compare and contrast. Okay, so selected GCC installation. It looks like it's doing the same thing on both. Multi-lib stuff, which is a massive pain in the proverbials. I don't know if that's the same command line option as there. It's just too much to look at. But it didn't appear to pass it to the linking. Is it OpenMP supposed to work? Good question. I don't know if it is. What does one need for OpenMP to work? If you need libraries, then probably not. I wonder if I need to pass this to the linker. That is odd. I don't know why that would be different between these two things. And over on this side, we don't actually see. This is otemp test address C. That's Clang 8. Yeah, -v doesn't appear to actually tell me what it's running the linker with. It's a linker use -v to see invocation. So we're going to do -wl, comma -double. Well, that did not work. Linker input used. Let's try verbose on the linker. Okay, now they've started the noise outside. And our survey says, alright, we get to see the wonderful link script. Oh, look, attempt to open userlib libpthread.so failed. So it's looking for libpthread, it seems like, but it's not finding it. So it's trying to find it, but failing. That is interesting, would you not say? So apologies now if it's gotten loud out there. Linker input unused. What do you mean linker input unused? That should... have I got dash... we've still got -s on here. Aha! That's where I'm going wrong, everybody. I was actually using -s locally, but not on the remote machine. So perhaps this wasn't working like the way I thought it was. No, it still apparently works, actually. Okay, so attempt to load all of this stuff. Attempt to open. Let's see if we can find pthread in here. Pthread. Found it at /lib x86-64 Linux new. It could be a side effect of Firejail. That is a very good point that Juvenile makes there. Yes, that is true. So, yeah, I wonder if we're banning one of these directories. But it's finding it in /lib in the root. And I wonder, are we banning that directory in the execute? I don't think that we are. So let's go to compiler explorer image. No, let's go to compiler explorer. Excuse me, can't type, can't think. And I'm going to run that same command line here, but under Firejail. And that means I'm going to, come on, this is where it gets tricky. -- profile equals etc. Firejail execute.profile -- private equals /tump. Moog. Right, that's me just doing that. Okay, I'm going to mook tump moog, which probably already exists because it always does. It does! Hey! Okay. Yep, okay, so I'm going to move the tump test.cc into tump move. This is going to be our new root directory in the sandbox we're about to run. So now instead of outputting to tump, we're just going to output to the current directory, and we're going to expect the current directory to be there. We also need to pass in the most excellent command line option of private cwd. Thank you, Austin. And it must be supplied after -- private. Yes, indeed it must. Haha! Success! Or failing success. So that is exactly as Juvenile there mentions. I'm just going to quick question in here. Oh, whoops, wrong window. Too many wrong windows. Okay, no, I haven't got time to do that. I'll do that another time. So let's try and work out where this is failing. So it looks like it's trying to open lib pthread failed. So it looks like it can't find it in /lib. And I bet you if I look inside vi etc. See vi, ha, the t-shirt, etc. Firejail execute.profile, no, standard.inc lib. I wonder why /lib ain't working. Why can't we see lib? Interesting. We're not running with private lib, but that is where it's finding it normally. Let's just have a look. Lib pthread. No. Alright, I'm going to run it again without Firejail and remind myself. Lib pthread needed by that. Found it at /lib x86-64 Linux GNU. Okay, so that's where it is. Let's just ls that. Yes. Aha! It's a symlink. Where do you go, symlink? To the same directory. Okay, I was getting excited for a minute there. Lib pthread.so lib pthread -2, and you are an actual file. Good. Excuse me. So back to our Firejail test here. Something I've never tried doing is debug invalid. Oh, do I have to actually put an equals in that? Okay, well, never mind. We'll forget that. So it's trying to attempt to open. Where is that pthread? Pthread. Lib pthread. You know what? It doesn't look like it's trying to open the lib x86-64 Linux GNU. I wonder if one of the files that is being I bet you the multi-lib support is being broken by Firejail. That makes more sense to me. So I would need to work out how GCC knows about the multi-lib directories and how to find things in the multi-lib directories. So it should be looking in lib/x86-64 Linux GNU, and I bet you there's some kind of file. Ugh. How are we going to find that? GCC multi-lib path. This is just not gonna. This is not gonna be much fun, is it? Yeah, I'm not sure that's gonna be exactly what we need to find here. And so my guess is with dash. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is something in etc. And I think we're probably. So why don't we just grep? When in doubt, grep. So let's search for x86, or what is it we're looking for? Lib x86 64 Linux GNU. So let's do RG. Have I got AG? Rip grep. Oh, I like rip grep. I don't know why I haven't got it. And I'm not going to install it that way because I prefer to go and get it from Rust, but I'm not going to do that right now in front of you all. So grep minus R x86 64 Linux GNU, I think is what I. libdir equals that. cron.daily slack. I don't think that's it. ld.so.conf.d. Oh. That looks like a. That looks like something important. Would you not say? And ld.so.cache and stuff like that. Okay. To the if in doubt Google it. Yes. We do have private etc. open enabled. That is exactly it. So I think we need to look at execute.profile again and private etc. password, and I think it's space separated, but it might be comma separated here. Let's go and see if that magically fixes our problem. Yeah, I think it's space as comma separated. I think I had this problem before. Oh, I tell you what, why don't we, before I get excited about this, why don't we just get rid of private etc. for a second and see if that fixes it. Okay, clearly that does fix it. Clearly that does actually fix the issue, which is lovely. But what do we actually need to put in here to make it work? What's the magic? Is an invalid file name. Fine. So that's not just the droid we're looking for here. I don't know how much value we get from private etc. I'm also not actually sure that that's working. So why don't I test this by running bash inside that jail. So we're going to do Firejail profile execute equals profile and then just run just that, in fact, in bash. What do I get? ld.so.conf.d. Okay, so that did work, and we can see inside there those files, but I bet you there's an ld.so.conf as well, right? That includes the directory. I don't know why I'm doing this in VI. Maybe it's the t-shirt. ld.so.conf. Yeah, right, okay. Now let's see if the compiler works. We have a winner! Yay! Okay, this is worth finding, so that's excellent. So let's just check again. I'm running everything as we were before, test, and it appears that everything just works this way around. Excuse me. And we're going to get rid of the verbose here. Beautiful. Mwah. Thank you again, everyone. So git diff that, and we fixed a bug we didn't even plan on fixing, but this is execution needs LD library path. No, execution sometimes lives lib pthread. Git status, git add dot, git commit -m. What is this? This is allow etc. ld.so.conf files. So that linking finds system libraries. We'll go with that. C-1398. I'm loath to commit this is definitely a fix until we've had a bit more of a chance to run. But that's a good start. We are 1 hour and 10 minutes in, and there is a horrible noise that I'm trying to keep talking over so that the the automatic gain control on my mic doesn't suddenly start amplifying it. But that is a good thing. Hooray! This pleases me greatly, by the way. I do a git push here, and then come on, work GitHub. It hasn't worked now. So the question is, is it going to be able to find the SOs when executing? No, and that's the real problem. That was the meat that I was trying to get to. Oh, that didn't work. I was hoping that would automatically update. Sometimes GitHub links like poll and update there. That's what I was hoping to see. So we'll come back to that when we've had a chance to deploy to staging and all that nonsense. And we're going to have execution use LD library path to appropriate library. So this is the next thing. So there are two things I think here. One is that we need to give it the right execution paths. And the second part is that we need to, we probably need to tell the sandbox to actually look at the ldso.conf and all that stuff. So that's probably a valid point too, actually, there. But there's another part here. So let me go back to our original gangster issue over here, and that is if we ignore the problem we've just fixed and just give it -p thread, and I don't know how that's working, but it magically works. Now we get a problem when we try to execute it, which is looking for libc++.so.1. And I think we can reproduce that locally. So if we just take Firejail out of the mix to start with, go back to our original, let's do the non-Firejailed version. So we want moog test. That's enough. There we go. And get rid of our verbose. And then, why is that working? How are you working, temp test? Aha! So you can see here what's happening. Or maybe you can't. But what is happening here is that on my system, I have got Clang installed. Like, if I type Clang here, I'm going to get Clang, right? And if we just say which Clang, it's a system installed Clang. And that Clang has a libc++ and a libc++ ABI that come from its installation. And those are in user lib, blah, 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 x86, 64, Linux, GNU, and all of that. But, so actually what I'm going to do is sudo apt remove Clang, which I will forget about later, and then I will curse and swear as to why I Clang? Oh, Clang++ as well. Oh, sad. I have held broken. Alright, I can't actually get Clang to be removed, which is a shame, because I can't exactly reproduce the problem. But what I really wanted to do is find these libraries not in the system library path, but in the appropriate directories, because it occurs to me even now libgcc and libc are kind of come from the system as well, and not from the compiler that they came with, which may lead to some problems. And in fact, a lot of my professional life has been spent farting around trying to get that to actually work. So one thing we could do is, oh god, it's so loud outside, I'm so sorry, is we're going to go and find where that Clang opt Minecraft launcher, that's exactly what I wanted. You can spot what my children have been around. Opt compiler explorer, Clang -8. What have we got in there? Okay, yes, we've got all of that stuff. Clang 8 lib, and I think in here are the real paths. Yes. So I am going to just try a monumental hack, like the best type of things, and I'm going to do WL, which means pass something to the linker, -r path equals paste. And now it's working. Hurrah! So what that has done is it has passed an option to the linker to say when you generate the executable, mark a part of the metadata in the executable to say, hey, looking for libraries, try here. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to relink that. Yeah, Turbo, you want Turbo C using DOSBox? Sure. Patches are welcome. So I'm going to do the same flag here, wl, dash dash rpath equals paste that. Now I should be able to run LDD on temp test, and now it's finding those things. I'm sorry, it's finding those libraries in the correct path. That's one approach to getting this to work. That means that the executable itself has all of the information needed to find the libraries that it should be linked against. However, this is the interesting part. Another approach, and let's just make sure that still runs, hooray. Another approach is to instead set this LD library path, compiler-explorer clang 8800 lib $LD library path, which is, nah, forget that. That's there's nothing else on my LD library path right now. And then if I do LDD on temp test, well, all right, I'm going to recompile it again without the rpath. And then if I run LDD with it, we can still find it. And so with the LD library path set, we see the right thing, and without it, we see the wrong thing. So another alternative is to, can I not use LD config? I mean, LD config is great, but it's a system-wide setting. And as far as I'm aware, it is, as I say, it's a system-wide thing. So LD config will say, hey, if you're looking for this thing, look over here, which is great, but there's thousands of libraries and they're in thousands of different places. So I don't think that's the right solution here, unless you can tell me that there's a way of making this work better, because that would help too. I've never really played with LD config because, again, it seems system-wide. Yeah, it's configure that, and yeah. So, excuse me. Sure, we have over, we've got like a dozen languages and over 400 compilers. If you really want a feature, I suggest that you take a look at the code. It's open source, and we accept pull requests to add new features. It's like Turbo C++ is not high on my list of needs and requirements, but if you have a need for it and you have any thoughts on how to add it, then file an issue, give us all the information you possibly can, and preferably give us some exactly. Thank you, Luca. You've put some information in the chat there. And adding DOSBox or QEMU is a very, very complicated and deep task. We've just been going through this to get execution support in, so be aware that it's not as trivial as it sounds, and it may not sound similar. Also, I mean, Turbo C++, my understanding is it's probably not open source. So that probably puts the what is this? So it might licensing is the biggest issue I have, and that is where if things are not open source, I can't easily put them on the website. The only things that are not open source that are on here, I've had very special permission to do so, and so I have to be very careful. Anyway, putting the see, that's wrong. That was used, right? This warning here, linker input unused. Oh, you know what? That's because it's compiled twice, and the first time it's compiled, and it's compiled to just the ASM, like we were talking before, and there the linker input is unused, and then the second time it's compiled, and that does take effect. Okay, so we have a choice here. Either we need to teach the execution system where to find libraries. And there are two ways to do it. Either we build that into the executable. Now, the thing about building it into the executable is that it's hard to get wrong. Like, we do the compile and it's baked into the executable, but it's also compiler specific. We'd have to rely on a WL thing for each different type of compiler, and I don't like that. So I do like the idea of the LD library path being changed, and that being the mechanism by which we tell the execution system, hey, you need to run this executable with this library path. So that's a pro. The con to the LD library path is that if we want to, if at a later date we want to separate, this is the compiler explorer authors, we want to separate execution from compilation and excuse me, like call from one system to another, maybe even on the client to say, hey, can you just run this for me? We would need to also say, and can you use these paths? It's not like you could just say, this is an executable, run this executable. You can just say, this is an executable, and it needs these LD library paths set. Yes. So MSVC is mostly, the question here is how do we get MSVC in? MSVC is actually run on Windows. For all of these, there are 8 compilers that are run on Windows, and then we have a completely different parser, and syntax highlighting is basically the same. But as Chady says, there's also the Wine versions of these, which we run under Wine, which is a horrible, horrible hack that I wish I could get rid of. But unfortunately, we're condemned to keep it for a while because people do use it. Exactly, yeah. No, the chat's caught up. I'm sorry, I'm out of touch here. Okay. Oh, now we've lost the compiler. I'm going to look at Clang 8. So the annoying thing about this is, of course, I can't reproduce this problem locally because I have got Clang++ installed, which is an annoyance. But let's see what we can do to try and reproduce it locally. Let's make sure everything's groovy over here. Yep, excellent. Okay. So I'm going to make extra args equals -- debug -- languages C++. I'm going to make dev as well and let that start going, and I'll start running this locally. Oh, I might already have this running locally. Oh, I was there. How does the licensing work for MSVC? I have some emails that I have very carefully stashed from people at Microsoft who've said, no, it's fine, trust us, it's okay, and I'm trusting them. And then they have also got their own official support, which comes through from godbolt.ms. So if you go to www.godbolt.ms, this is a Microsoft copy of Compiler Explorer with their own compilers in it. So here they all are. And Compiler Explorer, the main site, shells out to godbolt.ms to run those compilers. Okay, so let's try and reproduce this locally. So localhost 102.40. And oh, the privacy policy has changed. Yes, it has. And look, there's my home address if you ever care to e-stalk me. Yeah, that's good. So we're going to bring up Clang trunk and hope that this exhibits more problems. And we're going to have int main, bang bang, and include iostream. I should just probably have got this from the other website. Stood cout. Hello world. And hello world, and everything's groovy here. And then we're going to do std lib equals libc++. Okay, that's great. So sandbox execution. We're still actually running with Firejail locally on my machine. Okay, some questions are coming up here. I'm going to play catch up on there. You're not wrong, Luca. Input also working, just output. Let me have a look at what Andreas is saying there by clicking his link. Yes. Input is essentially an end of file. Like, you'll just get an empty input there. But it's something we could support in the run view. So if Ruben is sort of taking feature things, you can if he's taking feature requests, then that's probably something we could do, is supply a stood in as well. Yeah. Okay, that's Compiler Explorer. Yep. Trust them, Godbot. Yeah. No, they did ask me. In fairness, Gareth, they were very kind, and the Ubi-san actually, who has she's been on the chat before now. She asked me. She reached out and said, "Hey, do you mind if we use this?" I think it was her. Somebody asked me anyway and said, "Do you mind if we use it?" And I was like, okay. It was just flattering enough to my ego. So David Holman says, do I just pull a request that modifies install libraries? Yes, David, that is basically what you do right now, and I'll fix it up. Be aware we're moving to a new way of installing things. Right now, the installation system is a horrible set of bash scripts, and I have a background task to slowly move it over to an alternative way using some Python and some more like a declarative syntax for like, hey, this library from this GitHub there, please. And that's much more straightforward, and also allows you to test it locally a little bit easier. But yeah, David, to go for that. For things being run, there's no complexity that's new from there. We just don't support anything other than header-only libraries for executing code. It's just too big a deal to have... Oh, I think they've run out of gas or petrol. Oh, that sounds so good. I can stop yelling. Just going to enjoy that. Yeah, I just heard the workmen say, we ran out of gas, because I don't think they meant to stop. Okay, so here we are. We're in stdlib equals lib C++ land here. And of course, this means that we're still almost certainly picking up the system libc. I'm going to do something really, really horrible now. Never do this, right? We're going to go sudo move that to that.arg. So now when I rerun this, it should fail. Yay! I have now broken my own system for a number of reasons. I'm sure this is terrible. Bisto indeed. Thank you, Pantufel. Yeah, I'm so blessed by all of the people that helped me on the project. Is the sound may be breaking up for everyone. It may just be me making funny noises as well. Never underestimate that. So I'm going to go and put the heating on. It's getting cold in here, so I will be back in 1 second. It's apparently 68 degrees here, which I don't understand, because 68 degrees should be like melting, right? But Fahrenheit. All right. So, we have broken my local system, and I have to remember to put it back. Remember to put it back, Matt. But we can at least reproduce the problem. Hurrah! Now, there is a good way and a cheesy way of getting this to work. We're going to have to work out for every compiler what library path it needs to work. Now, I don't know how to do that. How would we do that normally? So let's just run the compiler, clang 8 bin clang plus and selected that installed dir, because I know GCC has like some like print dirs. So let's search for dir. My system, modules, cache path. Oh, modules. Who's excited about modules? Anyone? I'm sort of, but I'm worried about how much pain and suffering it's going to cause me in my build. Let's search for a link. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Pantufel. Yeah, in the properties file would be good, but if we can auto discover a lot of these things, that would help, I think, more. So I'm hoping that we can do both, and that is automatically discover it, because otherwise there's just going to be so many things to add. So I think what Pantufel is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, my friend, but wrong project. Oh, first time we've seen the ID the whole time we're here. Is it possible to see some information about the CPU that produces the assembler code? I don't understand, Semiconductor, what you mean by that. The assembler code is not produced by a CPU specifically. It's produced by the... Yes, cache line size and available registers would be of interest. The compiler doesn't necessarily know those things. You can tell it those things. I don't know if you're thinking about something completely different. David, good point. Yeah, me and my big mouth. Yeah, I have strong opinions, but I don't have solutions, which I think covers most people's views on the subject of modules. And I'm sorry, I'm dying of some kind of dread lung disease. What was I doing? Remind me. I was going to show you the properties files. Yes, so let's go to Amazon, C++.amazon.properties. So this is definitely a good solution to the problem. So if we go and look at all of these directories here, for every one of these compilers here, we might also say, well, the executable is here, but we would then also do compiler.clang_trunk.libs or like ld library path, something like this. And ld library path is how we would write it, equals, and then all of that lib. And then for every compiler we do the same thing, and that's totally doable, but somewhat annoying and irritating. So Andreas has said cache line is always 64. On an x86, that is mostly true. That is not true of different ARM processors. It's not true of, I mean, depending on how you think about things, you could imagine that the L2 cache, I believe, tends to do cache lines in tuples, so 2 at a time. So you tend to get the even odd ones anyway, so it's kind of a 128. And Gareth's point's very valid here. Like, if you want them to know the CPU that Compiler Explorer is running on, it changes depending on the time of the day, how busy we are, which things I've picked randomly. So you should pick a CPU, and then if you want to know how big the cache line is, you just go and look at the documentation for that particular CPU. So I think that covers some of those things. I see. Locally created assembler code to online created assembler code. They should be identical using the same configuration settings. If they differ in any way, it could be because you're using, like Gareth says, march equals native, which says just use my CPU. You should just pick the right CPU for you. And there are ways and means of finding out what your current CPU is, although that might just explain everything you're seeing. So dead paths and the LD path aren't a showstopper, so you could just default to a relative same. Yes, that's kind of what I'm thinking as well, Juvenile, is like maybe we should just have something which, unless we're specifically overridden by LD library path, is just we say, okay, you look in some places relative to the executable. And I think, like you suggested, if we were to like look at a bunch of compilers, so let's have a look at opt compiler explorer GCC 830. There's a lib32 and a lib64. Now, picking which one of those, I think probably just lib and lib64, and we're golden. So I think we can probably just do .lib and .lib64. Would probably do the trick. I mean, certainly as a first step, it would. So let's try that. Now, we need a way of communicating to the execution system. So let's have a look at exec.js. Some of these options. Oh, it's so nice to be quiet. Oh, I can't tell you how loud it's been for me in my ears, but... different ASM between a Linux system and macOS. Yes, that's true. Sorry, yeah, there's some comments about different operating systems assembly being different. But yeah, you mean like major operating system differences. And in particular, if you want to look at the different ASM between Linux and, say, a Microsoft, the calling convention is completely different. So you'll see different registers being used, at the very least. Okay. So, execute... and sandbox, that's the one we're looking at here. So we've got our sandbox execute, which I don't know if we looked at. It's up here. Sandbox Firejail. This is the implementation we need to look at. And here is where we would probably need to put in our LD library path stuff, which is going to have to come in as one of the options. Okay, I'm thinking out loud very much here. So at least as a first gasp attempt, I think I will default to the executable directory ... and a few things, and maybe we can make up a syntax that we can override inside the profile here, so that I can do something like group, or rather, you know, like just LD library path equals $xe dot dot lib colon $x, something like that, you know, then that allows us to override but have a sensible default that's in the configuration lib64. Maybe LD path. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. But let's sort of think about that. And we'll make it a property of the compiler, and then the compiler will pass it through to sandbox when it needs to execute it. So let's go and find how sandbox is being called. So that will be down at the bottom of this file. Now we're into the actual meat of the work. So sandbox, where are you called from? One usage. Deep in exec binary. Hurrah. Executable max size execute parameter. See, again, unfortunately, we've lost which compiler is needed. If you need both 64 and 32 bits path, that is a very good question, Pantuful. I don't know. Certainly, my default would be to just pick the 32-bit, sorry, the 64-bit version. Why don't we try that? Before we go too far, that's an excellent point. I was just going to ignore the lib32, but why would we? Oh no, actually, the way that the sandbox environment works right now is that it won't support 32-bit applications, which I think I'm cool with for now. It's just another set of things I don't have to worry about. I don't know what NSJail supports, if NSJail supports 32-bit as well. But, you know, 32-bit x86 is I'm treating as a different executable format, like just like ARM. It's sort of a rubbish answer, really, isn't it? Yeah, CPU ID does not need supervisor, nor, and yeah, in proc you can get a load of stuff out of proc, and that's by design. The compilers need to be able to read proc, and so I thought, well, it doesn't. There's nothing. There should be nothing left in proc that's important to your, to you know, there's like a leak of information. So you can go and find which CPU you're running on, but it'll be aware that it'll change. So we've got, yeah, binary exec timeout. And exec.sandbox. So exec binary is being called, but we seem to have lost at this point the compiler. So we need to. So I think we need to pass that along. Run executable. Oh yeah, but we are the compiler. This is the right. At this point, we have an object that is the compiler, and I should probably bring this to the front so we can actually read the whole thing. Yes. So we should have the properties. Compiler info. Yes, we're given the compiler info. Brilliant. Oh, it's been a long time since I've seen this. It doesn't seem to be being used. Possible libs, compiler info.libs, yeah. I'm not going to change that right now. We've got too many things to worry about. So let's go and see where a compiler is being constructed. And that's where we will do the lookup for the LD library path at the very least. And so compilers are constructed, I think, in the top thing. Compiler finder find. A compiler finder is a compiler finder, and a compiler finder is this thing stored in the properties file. So this is the thing that's going to walk through all those properties and do the needful things. It also knows how to talk to a remote instance. It also knows how to talk to AWS instances and go and query them for other like esoteric and old reasons. Pantuful, have you just tried on the live site? That's awesome if it does work, and I should make that work then. So M32. Absolutely does work, yes. Okay, we need to support 32-bit, or at least make it work well enough. So, popping the stack again, let's just go and see if our LD library path is going to work. So we've got, in my temp, I've got my moog test. Temp test is there as well. So LDD temp test. Okay, so now we're going to do env LD library path equals clang temp test. Well, we know that one works, but what about if we were to give it a different GCC? So ignoring all of the other stuff for a second, compiler, explorer, GCC, trunk, that will work nicely. We're going to go lib, and then we're going to have and there. Oh, that didn't work as well as I thought it was going to do. Oh, neither did that. Lib 32, and then opt compiler explorer GCC trunk lib 64 ldd lib tink. Okay, so that is still finding GCC. Oh, it's finding it lib 64. Okay, that's good. That's good. So it means that it didn't find libgcc_s.so in the lib 32 directory, even though it was first on the path. Now, if I were to run opt compiler explorer, ignore the children screaming across the road. Let's run GCC trunk sure bin g++ tump moogs test.cc -o tump test GCC wunderbar, and then we're going to do GCC. Okay, so the GCC one is also picking those things up from the right place. Now if I were to do that again with M32, what am I missing? Sudo apt install sugar. This is something that does need to be on the system that I have to remember. Setup and it is, which one? This one. There, that magical thing. Of course it is. What else would it be? Please to wait. Yeah, so the CPU ID can be made a privileged instruction for what it's worth on x86 as well. It's just that it isn't by default. Well, it isn't on Linux anyway. I don't know about ARM. Ha! Woot. Okay. Pantoufle, I think we are covered with the magical .lib, .lib32, .lib64. Cross the fingers, hope the LD library path system works. So please, oh, excuse me, let me know if you feel that is not the case. And I will attempt to survive to the end of this thingy, whatever we're in. Yes, haha. Okay, so lettuce, not lettuce. LD path equals that. I think that can go into compiler explorer .default.properties. And I'm going to try and remind myself how this works. So compiler finder is here. And we need to find the props name. And I'm going to say LD path is props. And the prop name is LD path, and the default is empty. But we need to come back to this. So I'm going to see what's happened and see whether or not over in my shell window, where somewhere is the compiler explorer, did that in fact work? It did. Okay. Buried somewhere deep in all of that debug output is in fact whether or not that worked. So I'm going to go and kill that because we just got far too many compilers to do this quickly and easily. So I'm going to go to, not compiler, but local. We're going to go to c++.local.properties, and I am just going to pick out, I'm going to duplicate that line, and I'm going to have just GCC and Clang. And we'll start with those as the things I want to get working. I sounded like Yoda for a second there. Excellent. Was my word order all wrong? Or was it the sound of my voice? Oh, blast. And... oh, we should only be getting C++. I don't know why we're getting all the other languages right now, but I'm not going to spend too much time worrying about it. Maybe that noise is the thing that makes me sound more like Yoda. Excuse me. God, we have so many compilers, even if I just use GCC and Clang. There's at least 1 billion of them. approximately. Oh, Gareth, I'm glad to hear that about Conan. They would be in Germanic sentence structure, I spoke, right? I'm glad to hear about Conan. It's worked well for me, but I'm also, I'm aware that it's not for everyone. Okay, what? Remind me what we're doing here. I'm just having a bit of a brain moment. Oh yeah, that's right. I theoretically have added a new flag to the compiler, but I've got a feeling it's not going to work the way that I like it to. So how am I going to debug this? I am going to try and remember where the heck we stash it, rather than searching through that giant block of stuff. So this information is also sent to the client for, look at that, LD path worked. So the only thing we need to do now is expand that $exe, which is sort of a nasty hack. Within 9 orders of magnitude. Yeah, right, exactly. Near enough. Near enough. And so, where are we? Compiler finder gets this. And we're going to do LD path. And I think we should probably just do .split that .map x goes to x.replace. I don't even know if this works. I can't remember how JavaScript works. Need to learn how to use it with CLine and CMake though for when you're on Windows. Yes. Well, so with CMake, I just dump it in. If you look at the path tracer project that I've got, there is a single file you can go and grab off of the internet, or it's called CMake, Conan-CMake, I think, and it kind of just basically makes everything happen for you automatically as part of the CMaking process. You don't actually have to run Conan yourself, which I like. So this is the world's worst system for describing properties between things, because I'm just going to magically special case exe with this exe thing up here, which now needs to be, of course, a bloody variable. Yeah, so we're going to extract. Oh yeah, that doesn't. That's right. Sorry, make that a variable. Exe sounds good to me. $exe with exe. See, that's horribly special case, and I normally don't like that kind of thing. But frankly, right now that'll do nicely, assuming it works. So now we should end up with an array there. If my lungs hold up. Yeah. Maybe do pipe because of Windows or semicolon. Yeah, that's a good point, The only problem with pipes is that... no, I should do that. I mean, Windows is just... Yeah, you're right. Thank you. Somebody is thinking about the bigger picture. You see, this is... When I say Compiler Explorer is a team, what I really mean is it's me fumbling around and then some good other folks working out how to make my floundering actually work. So, thank you. What the heck is that? Some weird errors going on in here. Oh, that's just because it was trying to reload while I was restarting. Come on! You're so slow! I wonder if the workmen have gone, It's gone very quiet and I can't see a car outside. I wonder if I have a beautiful house. I mean, I have a beautiful house. I'm very lucky, but I wonder if I have a more beautiful house. Compilers. Clang_lifetime. LD path. Well, wouldn't you look at that? Now, does that actually work, is my question. If I were to do that as an LD library path... Does having a bunch of dots, LD library path equals env that, with 2 underscores, LDD temp test. I'm not sure that worked. How is it finding libc++.so.1? That's got put back. I broke my system locally. yeah, I hope to do another path tracing thing for what it's worth. I've gotten totally off the beaten track with that, and I'm so behind on so many other things in my life. But this would be nice to fix. So yeah, that I don't think that worked. I'm surprised though that we found libc++ ABI and libc++.so. This has come back. Surely, if I type history merge, yes, sudo, I think it got put back. Yeah, that didn't work, did it? What about if I do that? That didn't work either. Oh, I bet you because it needs 2 dots, doesn't it? For a start, and I don't think also it's built in there. I keep changing what I'm doing under that. Does that work? That one works, but if I put clang in there, that doesn't work. Do I need to put 2 dots? And am I relying on something pretty horrible? Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to come up with a different. Let's call it exe path, shall we? That's pretty nasty, but needs must. So const exe path equals fs dot path. What is the fs dot what? Somewhere in here there's a thing to get this fs dot find fs dot path. No, base name is definitely the other part of it. What is going on? I'm sure I didn't make that up. It will be in exec.js somewhere. fs dot. Somewhere in here I've used this. Oh, come on. Split path? Split path is what it is in Python, right? Path dot something. Maybe is it path dot something? Aha, yes, you're right. Path dot. Dir name. Thank you, Pantuful. You again. Save me. So back to compiler finder. And we have fs up here. We're going to need path now, aren't we? Path equals require path. And then we've got exe path equals path dot dir name of exe. Whoops. And then we're going to make exe path replace with exe path. And then we have to go and change the properties. Thank you, someone as well. You've found it as well. I'm sorry, I'm so behind you on the stream. So it just needs to be exe path dot lib exe path. Now I don't like this $exe path, so I'm going to actually put it in squiggles like this because that's sort of then like how JavaScript does it with these things, right? Moo. And then it looks a bit more JavaScripty, so I'm going to fix that while I'm at it. It's also fractionally less likely to be a problem. And also it kind of nods in the direction that down the line I might actually be able to do something more general case in my configuration system, which was nice. So let's replace $exe path with exe path, and then back to, where are you? Here and here. Splendid. Everything seems to just be working there, so this is clearly not working right. Oh no, because I haven't got the right window open. Yeah, it's still loading. Not you, not you. One of these, there it is. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, there it is. I'm glad you're enjoying this, Andreas. To me, I can't imagine why anyone would watch this. This is me floundering around and being corrected by cleverer people than I. Alright, compiler exporter dot compilers naught. Let's save ourselves a bit of IDE nonsense. LD path looks like that. I think that should work. Now, if I was being super cool, I would use path.realpath, and maybe I am super cool. I'm not super cool, but I'm going to make it do that anyway. So we're going to say dot split on that, dot map that, x dot replace And then we're going to do path.realPath. Have you got realPath? Or absolute is that? There's got to be a realPath equivalent, surely. What kind of crazy world are we living in when there is no... What do we get in path? No, not that. That. Okay. Normalize. I think that's the magical thing that I want. Path.normalize. All of this. Who wants to be normal, in fairness? But we're going to be, just because we can. Abs path. That's probably what I was looking for. You're right, but normalize. I'm not that worried about the absolute path as much as I am just like not having the dots in the middle of it. But we're going to have a look at that in a second. Let me. Oh yeah, that's right. Whoops, that did not work, did it? How did that break it quite so catastrophically? Libpath is now an empty string. Oh. Answers on a postcard. Path dot... Well, we're going to do abs path because... No, it doesn't seem to be a real thing. Abs path. Yeah, it doesn't appear to be an abs path in amongst all of this. There's resolve, which that might be more it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's put that back. And more people, more random strangers from the internet are correcting my terrible LD path. Look, there it is. And it's right as well. Okay, we're going with that. I'm done prattling about with LD path for now. And if my computer would give me control back, that would be nice. So we're going to go to Compile Explorer. Okay, so now we have an LD path, which means that when we get to base compiler, wherever that's hiding, this, we're going to remember that. It'll be part of the compiler info, in fact. We don't have to do anything extra with that. Thank you, Antonio. And yeah, I see path.resolve. I think I'm going to stick right now with the path dot the thing that I currently have. I'll come back to it, otherwise you're going to watch me go back and forth another 3 times. So when we get to run compiler, run binary, wherever run binary, exec binary, this is where we need to do something clever. We're going to pass options. Oh, I guess they're back from lunch. So we're going to hear the workmen start on the... Oh, I know where they went. They probably went to get some gas for the pump. So we're going to say LD path of this dot compiler dot LD path. I think it seems less sure. Compiler info. I'm pretty sure the compiler info is the right thing. But right, and now we have to go and teach Sandbox how to actually look at that LD path. Oh, you know what? We probably already support this. Ah, you know, I don't have to add something new. This is env. LD library path is that. Whoop. But, I can find where I... Oh, golly. It's all going wrong for me. I'm pressing the wrong keys on the keyboard. There. All right. That might just be it, you know. In which case, this would be one of the bigger anticlimaxes of the stream, right? But what do you reckon? What's your market on this working? We're still waiting. Perhaps I should turn off debug. All right. 1, 2, 3. Yes, good. Holy cow. Eno ent. Right, I think now what's happening is that we've actually replaced the default environment with this, which is not what we wanted. We actually want the default environment, which presumably has a few things it needs. We can go and have a look over here. Oh, because it's not finding Firejail. Yeah, I bet you if I specify a path, it's losing the path. But what I'm going to do is process.env. How do you merge two maps together? Ugh. Alright, we're going to say const env equals process.env.clone. I think I can do that. Env. No, there's some neat underscorey thing. I've got underscore. We can do this. So we want to do underscore dot merge process.env, comma that. I don't know if that's it. I think it's like inherit or some other thing. What do you say? Alright, we're going to go to the lodash.merge. Yeah, I think it's the same deal. I'm just going to double check though, because there are so many similarly named. If I could find the right window to open, that would help, wouldn't it? Alright, I've lost my windows. There we are. So, underscore JS. Merge. Collections. Come on. Oh, there's no merge in underscore. It may be in lodash, you're right, but it's called something else in this, and I know objects. Extend, that's the magical thing. Shallowly copy all the properties in the source object over to the destination and return the destination object. So, I think what we then need to do is that, process.env. Over to the and return the destination object. Any nested objects or arrays will be copied by reference name mode, but that is the wrong way round. So I actually want to have an empty one of those, and then process.env, and then that. Ugh, yuck. Because we don't want to mutate process.env, but we want LD library path to override anything that's in there. Isn't that? And it's not called merge; it's called extend. Because of course, what else would it be called? Okay, back to the source code. Not the source code, the running part. Oh, it's hard to concentrate with this stupid noise on outside. But I will have a pretty house. What are they cleaning at the moment? I'm not quite sure, you know. Whatever it is, it's going to be a lot cleaner after that. Okay. Let's try you again. What say ye? No, that's sad. Alright, so LD library path apparently didn't make it into there. So let's have a look at what we've got in the output here. We've got execution. We're picking up all of these things here. And it's executing Firejail with all of this frightening looking stuff being passed in the thing there. LD library path is, oh, of course, LD library path here is an array. Aha! And it needs not to be an array by the time we pass it in the environment. So we now need to join this. Can we just join arrays? I think we can. I think it's just a method. It's Python that has the weird thing where the string has the join method, right? And I've still got wine enabled, which I should probably turn off as it slows down startup. Although running 1,000 compilers apparently also slows down startup. Come on, Webpack. There we are. Click. Our survey says cannot open file. Blast. LD library path looks good to me. Clang trunk, all the things. Let's just make sure Clang 8 has the same problem, because that's the one we've been testing with locally. Okay, so the LD library path is not making it through to Firejail. would be my guess. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to exec.local.properties, turn off wine because it's a pain in the bum, and get rid of Firejail just to start with. And more importantly, I've lost my chat window. There you go. Strudel join. Thank you. Yes. Yes, the headset would be, but I don't want to feel like I'm working in a call center. No disrespect to those who work in call centers. I've had some very good experiences recently with call center calls, but it's not for me. Okay, so this is still happening even without Firejail. Oh, it's still running Firejail. Why? Oh, because it's the sandbox type I need to change. Okay, sorry for wasting everyone's time again. Another restart. Alright, so it's definitely Firejail that's causing us to not find it. So let's go and have a look at the Firejail configuration, and I wonder if I've blacklisted or banned out that, removed that environment variable. So, where do we live? We live here, and we're going to look for sandbox.profile. Yeah. Remove some environment variables, maybe to stop people. Yeah. So that's annoying. We seem to lose the LD library path. Oh, I know why, everybody. Oh, this is irritating. This is a tragedy. Oh, because Firejail is set UID. Set UID binaries are privileged. They don't, even if it's has extended attributes to say that it has permissions for, you know, like raw net access and things like that. It's considered to be privileged. Any privileged executable is obviously a target for an unprivileged user abusing it to try and gain access on that computer. Forget Firejail for a second. This has got nothing to do with Firejail. This is like, you know, which ping? ls-l bin ping. If I look at the ping here with ls-atra bin ping. Oh, I forget how to do this now. Extents. Okay, maybe not that one then. I thought ping did. All right, definitely some privileged executables. Bin su, for example. Yes. All right. Oh, yes. There. I mean, the set UID means it's losing the LD library path. Is the oh, which? Okay. Aha. Oh, cool. One second, I didn't see that. I have too many chat programs open as it is. So, there's a much better way of doing this, it seems. Rather than passing the environment, using the environments, all the things that we've just been doing. Where are we? Base compiler here. And then env, extend all that stuff. I'm just going to say, I'm going to special case this as LD path, because I really don't want to pass all of the other variables. It's not important to me. I just want to do this special case thing here. And now inside the sandbox version, and well, I guess this is, I'm gonna have to have two implementations of this now. I'm just thinking out loud here, but the observation is I can do --env equals name equals value. So here we can do LD library path equals blah. So and then I need to have an execute direct support for that separately. So we're going to do jailing options equals all of that nonsense. And cool. So yes, thank you. Yes. So thank you, Austin. There. So Juvenile is Austin. There. I've been confusing myself by thinking that different people are involved here, but Yes, thank you, Austin. That is exactly what we need to do here. I mean, I guess we could sort of special case this a little bit and go. So there's definitely an appeal to this because this will just work for. Excuse me. This will just work for the non-Firejail case. But what I can do up here is say if options.env and options.env.ld library path. That's one way of doing it. We can pass them all that way. It might actually be better just to fix this up for all things and just whitelist some stuff that's in here. I think that's the right way to do it, and then it just works in both cases. Okay, I've been thinking to myself too much here. Okay, so we've got the execution name, we've got the private CWD there, and we're going to stop there. And then we're going to say args equals jailing options that dot concat, all of that nonsense there. That actually goes into there's no point having it separate. This command equals Firejail. Oh, interestingly, that was broken from before. It's a miracle that's working on the live site, because what we should be looking for is wherever the other thing is, Firejail. This one here. That's what we should be running. Whoops. And sandbox goes to sandbox Firejail. So this becomes just that. Okay, then let's try and put that on some lines that make sense to me, so that it's indented vaguely readably. Okay, alright, now we're going to do if options.env. Right, the last thing we're going to do is delete options.env, because we just don't want to pass the env onto Firejail itself. They're unimportant to the execution of Firejail. They are things that we're going to pass in instead. Although I don't like actually the fact that I'm modifying the options there, so I should probably do. What do I do down here? I do definitely do some modification of some stuff when I delete options.custom.command. Oh, alright, I actually do modify in place. I should probably not do that. Yeah, too many things at once right now. But we're going to say for... Oh, God. Can anyone remember the horrible way you have to iterate over an object? We'll do it with underscore. So for let key in underscore.keys of options.env. Yes, Austin makes a point in everything. So yeah, I definitely don't want to... I'm definitely going to change this to only inherit the things that we actually need. So this is a better thing to do. So the env here will just be... oh, that's right, actually, you know. I think I will probably whitelist a bunch of things. Yeah, those ones there come from the global environment. So Austin's just linked that thing. And those, I've got a whole bunch of things which I remove with settings inside sandbox.profile here. These are these things here that just make it look a bit suspicious. So we definitely don't want to inject more things into there if we can avoid it. You're absolutely right. So I think the only thing we need to put in is the path from the environment just to find Firejail. But even that I don't think we need to do. So but yeah, we can't get rid of it completely. Yes, agreed. That obviously that was also that list of environment variables comes from my local machine, which has a whole ton of things that are going to come in as a result of it being on my machine. But you're absolutely right. We definitely don't want. So haha, thank you. Const item of options dot options dot env. Okay, so let's have a look again at base compiler here. So I probably just want to steal, I want to make a new thing here which has path process.env.path and LD library path of my library path, and everything else can go and jump, and there's no extend anymore. We don't need to do that. This is just the whole environment that's required, and I think that's as safe as can be, because even if we do leak the path in, we'll be okay. Excuse me. We'll come back to it. So and then Luca's got a much better way of doing this. Yes, we can, so that's definitely true, Austin. We can use an empty empty environment if you an absolute path to Firejail, but whether or not the user might need to be able to pass other things, I don't know. For example, the default Firejail executable is just Firejail, and I assume I'll find it on the path. So I might come back to that. It's just nice to be able to say, hey, Firejail, rather than that. I know we use an absolute path elsewhere. I wonder if I could find it through some mechanism, and then that would help. But we'll come back to that. You know, if instead of exec props Firejail here, I actually went and found the Firejail executable, either by finding it directly or by looking on the path, that would probably make more sense. Yeah, I mean, using an absolute path makes perfect sense, and it is exactly what we're doing on the live site, but for other people, the default of it being Firejail sort of makes sense. Maybe you just have to, it's caveat emptor. Oh, so this is key value, and we're just going to say jailing options dot push and then dash env equals. Why do I always not run anything? That one. On that one. Key equals value, and I'm not going to bother trying to do any clever stuff with that. Yeah, it's absolutely a full path. You're right, and maybe I should just enforce that. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do. The problem is if I don't put a path there. Oh, this is for sandbox. Yeah, it's possible it won't work on a local machine. Maybe again, this makes me want to go back to just having a special case for this. Just say no, there's a special magic for this. Oh, interest. Thank you, Luca. Yeah, I'll go back to that. So maybe I shouldn't be using the environment here at all. No, I think the environment is the wrong way to try and do this. We're just going to have a LD path here, and I'm just going to have to suck it up and make it and implement it elsewhere. So if options dot LD path, then we're not going to do that. We're just going to do jailing dot push, and that no key equals value. We've got rid of that LD library path equals options.ld path. Then we're going to delete it so that it's not going to be passed on to the execute direct, and const env equals that, and here we're going to say it. So this is now going to fix it for the base case. If options.ld path env.ld library path, and I can't type, equals options.ld path. Okay, so in the default case where you haven't got Firejail, the options will have an LD path. That LD path will be passed into execute direct, which will just monkey with the environment, and we're done. And then this is on env is env. Oh, excuse me a second, I'm going to have to go and answer the door. Right, AFK for about a few minutes. AFK workmen. If you could explain to anyone who is wondering what's going on, I will be back in a sec. I wonder if like the env of being empty is probably what's the thing. I'm coming back. Whew. Okay, there we are. Yeah, JS const is a weird thing. You can delete. I think JS const is weird. You can. I'm pretty sure you delete it. And const does. Yeah, const just means you can't reassign that variable. So it's more. Oh, and it's gone quiet again. So where were we? I'm lost track of sort of where we were with this. We were just looking at this now. I think the problem we have here is if the env was none, which it most likely will be in a lot of cases, it defaults to process.env, which at the moment that will be env undefined, which means this won't work. So I think what we need to do here is go options.env or process.env. And this is no functional change. We're just taking something that the library underneath it, the child process library, will be doing under the hood and exposing it up so that we can mutate what's going on. No, you can add anything. Yeah. No, you can do anything you like with a const object. This is not canonical, but there's like a compiler explorer for JavaScript. It's called Chrome. Sorry. So we can do like const a equals empty, a is empty, and I go a dot b equals 1. A is changed, A is different, but if I do A equals quote quote, it's going to tell me no, you can't assign to it. I can do delete A dot B. Oh, delete A dot B even. Yep, A is empty now. So yeah, I think you're being too strict on yourself. Can I A equals undefined? No, I can't even make it undefined. Can I delete A? Is that how I do it? Oh, I couldn't delete A. No, A is with me forever now. Poor A. Alright, maybe that worked. So I can't oh, this is, whoa, that's production. That's production. We're gonna thingy the doobry there. Okay. Hello world is what we're getting. So it's working locally, which was nice. I'm gonna steal this program and combine these two into one test program so that we can kind of see what's going on to sort of placate both mine and Austin's curiosity. Actually, why don't I just use the whole thing? There's no. Oh no, I want the IO stream, so I'm going to rewrite this in terms of IO stream, just so that I'm using the STL of a sorts. So this just becomes, you know, stood C out of this env and M or N or anything, and then totally superfluous return 0. Might as well use a weird edge case of C++, right? Okay, so what are we seeing on my local machine? This is obviously all my secrets here, so you shouldn't probably look at those. But now I'm going to switch it over to using Firejail in execution local properties. Yeah, thank you, Austin. That's a good one to do. So we're going to put the sandbox type to be Firejail, and then we're going to wait for it to restart. Yeah, there's a lot of noise now in the output. I don't like that. You know, I think I will, because a lot of the time that env is not actually useful, and I'm logging it in the debug mode. So I'm going to make a small change. But let's rerun this and see what we get. Still got many things, but they, I think, are actually genuinely coming from my environment, and I think that would be the same as it was before. I can't drop more than that. You know, again, it would be nice to allow certain environment variables rather than disallow them, which unfortunately is not the way that Firejail works. So this is running Firejail, and oh no, this is giving it a whole bunch of stuff here. Oh no, that's the stood out. Forget the stood out. Yeah, I think we're good there. So right, I'm going to go back into base compiler, no, into exec.js, and then here this whole or process env I'm only going to do if the LD path is set. So I'm going to say, well, at this point I need to go Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Now it's because it is constant. What I wanted to do is do env equals process dot. Huh. Yeah, that's tough. So without that, I think we're just going to have a problem. If I now go to my local properties, no, execution local properties, and I turn back off the sandboxing, then my guess is it's going to break everything because we're not going to be able to assign. And I've lost myself again. Here. So my guess is this is going to fail. Yeah, there we go. Cannot set property LD library path of undefined. So that's weird and not weird. Oh, you see the noise now has gotten so loud. I'm going to move the microphone a bit closer to me and so hope that I drown it all out and I can talk quietly to myself. Yeah, this part here is because it's const, isn't it? You see, if I were to just go let env equals options.env, and here I could say if not env equals process.env.clone, which would allow me to more appropriately monkey with the environment, but only when I need to. Otherwise, I just pass the empty one, and that means we don't log anything differently. I don't know if that's better or worse, if the cure is worse than the disease here, because I'm not really... All I'm changing is the way the debug output works. Maybe I should just accept that the debug output will look terrible. We'll see. I need to... Excuse me. And I've lost the stream over here. There you are, there's the chat. Okay, so you're still talking. I think I'm still live, right? It's all gone very quiet. I think I'm going to have to finish up soon. Error during compilation. Error empty. That didn't seem to work. So let's rerun that. m.clone is not a function. Alright. That might be true. So how... Oh, is it... Do I really have to do... Is it underscore.clone? I know that there are ways of doing some of these things. I've got underscore still open up here. Thank you, Pantoufel. Clone. There is a clone. Good. Alright. Because I realised I was probably mutating the actual process environment here. Oh god, it's so loud outside. No. Underscore. Is it just underscore? Merge the end after the debug output. Yeah, I suppose that's... The problem is I like log that all the time. It's like an object that I pass around, I think, with the details. Let's take a look at that. That would be a good solution, actually. Let's see. So child, spawn, executing blah, env. Yeah, I think... Yeah, the problem is that the debug output really wants to show that I'm doing that LD library path. I feel that would be a that would be like disingenuous to not log it there if it wasn't actually if I didn't log it. Otherwise, I'll be debugging stuff and go, why the heck is the output not actually represent what's going on? So, on balance, I think probably I will make it a just always log the environment, and that way I always have all the information I need. So let's do that. Let's do const env equals either options.env else underscore.clone process.env, and I can mutate that without mutating the actual process environment. I just suck up the fact that we're going to see a whole bunch of junk in the output when I'm running in debug mode, which is like never. Well, obviously when I'm debugging stuff, but actually when I'm debugging stuff, I probably want to see all of that information. And there it all is coming out, but working is better than not working, and clarity and not lying about what I'm actually executing a process and the environment that the process is running in is probably worse than having too much output. And will this work? Okay, I think we're back to working here. Okay, I think and isn't null after the debug log. That's an interesting way. I see. Thank you. That's a much better idea. But now I have to remember things beforehand and have like a merged block with it. It is a much better idea. I think it would be more complicated because now I need to know whether the env was nullable beforehand. I guess not. No. All right. I guess that's it. This is exactly it. We log args. Now this env here would have to be. I'd have to know whether it was really an empty argument list or it was ones that I wanted to replace with or merge. I don't know. I think I'm going to use that. Yeah. All right. I'm going to leave this for now because this is it's difficult for me to concentrate with the noise, which is sort of annoying. And B, I think we have a solution which modulo the --debug just works. So I'm going to get rid of --debug. I'm going to make sure we know where we stand with regards to the sandboxing. We've got execution local properties. Well, first of all, we're going to test this with no sandboxing. So this is like the default. Jason Turner has just, doing a new video, and this is what he's going to get. And it just works. There's no huge amounts of information here. We get to see all of the command line arguments and all of the environment. That makes perfect sense to me. And then we go and we're going to just test. This is what it's going to look like on the live site. The question was, why am I using that over the original or, by the way? I think, do you mean like the _clone? Or are you talking about something else there, Matthew? I'm not quite sure. If it, over the original without a clone, I think there was actually a bug with it. Okay, hooray! We've got all of this stuff going on. The LD library path is there. We have got some things that are, I ideally not want to appear in here, but they can all be added to the ban list. Session manager and all that kind of stuff, but most of that stuff only happens as a result of me running an interactive desktop session here. Cool. Okay, let's take stock. Let's do meld of the whole thing. So we added an LD path which defaults to the executable path of the compilers .lib, .lib32 and .lib64. That can be overridden on a per group and per compiler basis if we ever need to. So far, I think this will cover everything. In base compiler, we now pass that through, and we just concatenate the array with colons in between when we pass it to the execution environment. In the execution environment, we use that, and in the case of a direct execution, are you passing the LD path to the compiler as well? No, the compiler knows the LD path. I mean, the compiler. Why would the compiler need the LD path? I'm not quite sure I follow there. The compiler sort of implicitly knows its own lib and lib64 directories, and certainly is not linked against those libraries, as far as I'm aware. But we could do. I've never needed to before, and I'm just not sure why one would need to, but I am also aware that I could be missing something. Okay, there. Underscore. And yes, if we have it, we just, instead of that, we pass an env parameter to Compiler Explorer. Excellent. And then Compiler Finder now knows how to look that up, and it has this slightly nasty hack to replace XEpath with XEpath. Okay, I think that's good to go. So I'm going to do make test, or make check. Let's make sure I'm not going to hit any things. Hi Oliver, welcome back. It is going loud right now, unfortunately, so I'm having a bit of a I can't concentrate type of an issue, but we are almost there with the fix for both the original issue, which was the things like clang didn't work, and also for having to supply pthread in some cases, and it's gone quiet, and I can hear myself think. So nice. But I haven't. So when the workmen took me outside, they would just show me how they'd done it. So I have a retaining wall on the outside of my property, and it's like manky. It's been there for, I don't know, 80 years, and no one's ever done anything with it. And they've been jet washing, and it looks so lovely. But it's so loud. Okay, shh, quiet. But yeah, to answer Oliver's question, we believe we fixed the LD library path issue and the libpthread issue. So we're about to check that in, and then we'll deploy that to staging. And if it stays quiet, we'll get it working in staging, and then we'll do another site update. So git add dot git commit -m. Yeah, I think they probably are out of gas again. Or someone's messaging me directly. And whenever they say, hey, you probably know this, but I'm like, oh, what horrible hack have you found? So git commit, and what have we done? We have added an LD path for every compiler, defaults to sensible relative locations, and pass this when running executables. Of course, ideally, this would be somehow wrapped up in the executable, as I said before, so that you wouldn't have to remember that this executable was created by this compiler. If we ever separate those things on our side, we're going to have to be aware that that's a piece of information that needs to be kept alongside the binary. And it should address hash 1399. Oh, here, I think the noise is going to start again. I can hear them starting it. Yeah, I'm doing ASMR. Oh, here we go. Right, okay, now I'm going to have to yell again. It's all good. It's all good, though. Come on the tests. All right, pushy. So that's going to do, hopefully, a Travis build for us. While that Travis build goes along, I'm going to see what people have said about oh, here we go. Alright, so the DM I got from someone was telling me that the beta site was down. So the beta site is down. It's been down since midday. I don't know how else to tell people that the site's down without actually running an instance there, just to say, hey, it's all down. I'm sure there are probably cleverer ways of doing that. I could probably come up with something in the CloudFront configuration, but I don't have that at the moment. So we've got about 4 or 5 minutes of this going before we have something that we can deploy to staging. And then once that's done, we can make a site release. So I'd estimate we've probably got like half an hour to go before this is all done. And I think, do we have any new pull requests or anything in here? We have Ruben's, obviously his pull request, which I think I'll look at this afternoon. I've got some other boring things to be doing. Chady, oh yes, thank you. Chady has direct messaged me like the star he is, and told me to remember to put my system back together again. So I'm going to absolutely do that right now. Thank you, Chady. You're an absolute legend. Arg. Oh, and I've changed my password. I have not changed my password. I just can't type it. All right. CE implementation, and I can't actually see around my microphone. I'm trying to stay close to it. Let's have a look at how we're doing. Travis, first of all, got another 3 minutes on that. StatHat. So this is the number of compiles that we've been, sorry, not the compiles, the number of, what are they called? Executions that have happened. You see a bit of a peak around midday, where presumably news was getting out that we supported it and people were just trying it out. And it looks like we're doing like 200 in, what is that? That is a 15-minute window. It's not bad. And nothing dreadful seems to be going on here. Let me just clear the search. At the moment it was just searching for sandbox executions, but here's all the other good things that are going on. Search for error. Should get emails and alerts about that anyway. Yeah, this is me. Oh, that's interesting. 500. Connection hung up. So there it looks like the instance that's running on. So this is one of the ones that runs on Microsoft, and I defer and delegate out to that remote place there. Looks like that one shut the door on us. And some seg faults. Who knew? Let's see how often we get seg fault. Seg fault. Joy. Lots and lots and lots of seg faults of output.s. So lots of people are crashing things. That's great. That's fun. But hopefully nothing untoward is going on. How many instances do we have running right now? Okay, this looks like it's going to be an expensive thing to be running, you know. We still have 3 nodes running, which is usually where we get by with just 2. Actually, we've got 4 nodes running. Crikey. There goes my budget. 1, 2... Oh no, we have only got 3 now running. That's good. I didn't refresh it. Oh, and I'm sorry, I just alt-tabbed away from the chat, so if you've been talking... Yeah, exactly. Push to prod. Oh, sorry, there was a good comment, and I've not really followed it up here. Ah, that's a good point. Yes, I didn't mean to change that. Now I understand. I apologise, Matthew Parnell. I could have just done or _.clone. And I've now checked it in, so I'm loath to change it. What a terrible person. But, yeah. I apologise for not spending enough time trying to work out what you were saying. Oh, interesting. So, a question there. GHC fails to allocate memory to not being able to create an OS thread. If you have a... Well, let's just try that out. So, this is GHC. I haven't really played with GHC because I'm not a Haskell person. So, yes, it is related to what we're doing sort of right now. It's related to what we have done, more so. So, excuse me. If I go to Haskell, cannot allocate memory. Yeah, that's interesting. And this is just the default. Let's see if this works, because we did change the amount of memory that's available to compilation recently. No, apparently it still can't work. So that's surprising. I've already pushed the commit. Yeah, that's never... Yeah, exactly. The world would burn. So, okay, it looks like older versions of GHC are working. Let's see where this goes wrong. We're good there. 861. Interesting. Okay, so this becomes a new issue. Labels. Do I have a Haskell? I think I do. Lang Haskell. There it is. And this is GHC 8.6.x. Fail. Oh, aha. Oh, no. What does this say? Is this the same one? Alright, that's maybe different. And this is fails with lack of memory in prod. Okay. So where issues, new issue, paste. Cannot allocate memory. Probably due to the 1.25 gig virtual RAM limit we now enforce for compilations. Older GHCs seem okay. Submit new issue. There we go. Luca, have you been stealing like Oliver's joke system? That's awesome. I love it. All right, so we'll come back to that one. So thank you. I'm afraid I can't pronounce your name, but Sizdi Nedalm, I'm going to say. And if I said it even remotely right, I will be pleased. But obviously, we can take a look at that. We limit the amount of memory that's available through virtual memory, and unfortunately, the current system we're using only allows us to limit virtual memory, not actual like allowed memory. So I'm guessing that this particular version of GHC just allocates a shed load of virtual RAM, but probably doesn't actually need it. But we're stuck with it here. All right, okay, we're sort of slowly stacking the popping the stack. Come on, there we are. Okay, we're going to now first implementation of what? What is this one? Execute only. Oh, Ruben has pushed something. Let me refresh this. Whoops, wrong window. I just refreshed the chat window. Not. Let's go back to live chat. Okay. Build history. Okay, so Ruben has been working on stuff by the looks of it, so his build was the top, but ours is done. Hooray! 4139 is the magic number, and you thought 2 was the magic number. So we're going to go over to the admin node, and we say, oh hi admin node, how are you? And we're going to say CE builds set current, and this was 4139. Okay, so by default in staging now, we will start up with build 4139. And now, because staging is currently down, we're going to actually bring it up. Start. So this now takes a little while for staging to come back up again, but we're within spitting distance of having this deployed, and my my sanity returning what passes for it. I think you Sisti has the new the latest the first bug reported via YouTube interactive chat, so that's the first. Amend is burn and worry about rebase. Yeah, if you've pushed a repository, so my personal take on this is if you have pushed to a remote repository that any other person may have pulled down, then don't force and don't rebase. That's my own policy. I prefer not to tell people, oh yeah, you just have to do git pull minus force because I pushed and I'm sorry, you're on your own if you made any changes. But that is the model that I know some people go for, and it causes me a few problems with some of the libraries that we pull in from Git, because people do force like to master, and then that means the scripts fail that I use to get the latest version sometimes. So yeah, previously we were worrying about the fact that I have more. Yeah, that's exactly it, Andreas. Yes, Git is fine as long as you know what you're doing with it. It's a bit like C++ in that respect. It's not really a problem. You can do loads of really cool things in it, but you can also blow your head off very easily. Alright, staging. Let's see where we are with staging. So let's get rid of the word segfault in here and go amazon.staging, which will tell us the progress of our application firing up. Yeah, I think Luca and Oliver have broadly got the same view. It's like once you've exposed to the world anything, then you just have to live with it. That's my take. Also, it's also the same for version things. I've had stuff where people have pushed version things and gone, "Oh, I made a mistake, so I'm just going to quickly fix that, and I'm just going to republish the asset and hope that nobody pulled down version 7.0.0." I fixed the typo, and it's like I've debugged horrible build failures which have come from someone going, "Oh yeah, no, I didn't think anyone was using it, so I just reused the same version." I'm like, numbers are free. Just use a new number. It's not that hard. each for their own. What is the difference between T3 medium and C5 large? That is an excellent question. So T3s have burstable credit stuff. So if I use over a certain amount, I get charged a bit more, I think. Yeah, let's ask Google. Something to do with that. You make a good point. A lot of this stuff I haven't really thought about that much. So 2.3 medium, I get two vCPUs and 20% baseline. I don't know what that means. And what do I get with a C5? How T3 works. Credit CPU is one vCPU running at 100% utilization for 1 minute. So that, if we go to my dashboard, oh god, it's so loud. Sorry. If I go to, where are we? CloudWatch, we go to Compiler Explorer. It's a new part of the world you haven't seen before, I don't think. We do get some CPU credit balance here, so I've got some amount of extra stuff that I'm not really paying for. And as the CPU well, here you can see that it's actually decreasing. It never used to, as you can see before, whatever time that was, UTC. Oh, let's put it in local time. Why do I put it in local time? I'm sure there's a way to change it to local time. I can't convert things in my head. Ah, alright, I'll just have to lump it. So, many hours ago before we released all this stuff, we were actually at almost 100%, or rather, like 20 credit usage, where we weren't using up stuff. We were accruing in the bank free burst units. No, exactly. So those T3s get to burst, so they should be cheaper. And I get to, as long as I don't totally hammer them, then I don't actually get more. Yeah, about 6 things are going on. Numbers are indeed free. I've used a major for a hotfix before because I changed the number by accident. Who cares? Yeah, right. Oliver, version 2. Brought to you by Oliver accidentally hitting the 2 key before he committed his code. Okay. So that's a good question, actually. Whereas the C5s, yeah, I don't know. If you have opinions or thoughts on this, that would be great. I mean, go away, pin. Some of these things I've prepaid for, some of them I haven't. I don't think I have any prepaid right now. What is that thing? Change 2.3 unlimited. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure is the short answer. I've gone for the cheap one. The C5s, though, the ones that I pay for, they are all spot instances, so I'm bidding on them. So we go down to spot instances, wherever the heck that is, spot requests here. These C5s that we're bidding on are... I'm only prepared to pay 5 cents an hour for them, which is considerably cheaper than they are. And if we look at like our pricing history, where are we? In the various US Easts, if I were to pay for it myself, it would be 9 cents an hour, but I'm getting it for like point 3 and change, 0.4 maybe, 4 cents an hour, 3.5 cents an hour. Now obviously if I were to prepay, I get a price that's similar to these prices actually, so I might just prepay for them and then just move everything out to C5.large. Oh, back to ASMR version. Alright, have we started up? We have. Isn't that nice? Alright, I can't really do this ASMR nonsense. So, to the stagings. We're going to move staging over here. And we're going to unify those a little bit. So we have 2 bugs to look at. First one is ICC, no. Execution needs L, yes. Execution sometimes needs libp thread. Let's see if we have fixed that. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, for example, this. So that's going to 503 because we don't have beta anymore, but we're going to change this to the word staging. And then it works. Ah, isn't that lovely? Close issue. Ah, 1 down. Next one. Execution needs LD library path to appropriate libraries. Well, added an LD library path, whatever. So there's another thing. We're going to just copy that link address, and I'm going to paste it up here and just fiddle with it directly rather than even going staging. Oh, it's the same one with the p thread, but we don't even need the p thread. So that's just, isn't that lovely? And it's only taken us 3 hours to get this far. And I'm now catching up with the chat. Performance similar, cost difference. Yeah, that's the theory. That's the theory, Austin. Honestly, there's no science behind it. It's so complicated. It's like, picking an internet plan or a cell phone plan. It's deliberately as complicated as can possibly be. I'm not sure. Having lots of cores doesn't really help me that much, I don't think. I could probably bump up the number of cores that I could get, but yeah, it's mostly me guessing. And Austin, if you want to ping me offline, if you're interested in helping more with that kind of stuff, I'd be delighted to invite you to join in with the admin group and help us there. But obviously, I don't want to speak for the amount of work that you want to put into this. You've been amazing so far with all of the work that you've done on isolation. If it's something you want to keep on going with, then let me know, and we'll talk about whether you can give us more help and advice in the future with no obligation at all. Just let me know. Okay, so I think we can close this off as well. How lovely. All right, so we now going to go ce-env prod set current 4139. And it helps to type builds set current. And this is prod, and it is in the master branch, yes. --env prod instances restart. Is everybody ready? Everything we've been working on today is just going to production. Now, something that's going to change as a result of this. At the moment, we have a custom message of the day, or we had a custom message of the day. That will disappear now if I reload this page here. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm now presumably very backlit because it's gotten very dark behind me. I'm just going to... I've deliberately, to try and get some CPU back, yeah, oh god, I do look horrible, don't I? Let me get the lighting on. No, wrong one. So many light switches. It's gotten very ominous and dark suddenly. So site is being updated. This used to tell people about the new .a.out button. I wonder, how many people are going to tick the A.out button and not actually open an output window, and therefore be blissfully unaware that their code is being executed. I mean, look, for example here, this is a perfect example of that. Hey, look, we're actually printing out all of this stuff, and all this stuff. Tons of work is going on behind the scenes, and nobody's there to see it. That's unfortunate. Yeah, UI is hard. This is another reason why Ruben's change will be very well received and very well looked for. So that GHC thing's an interesting one. I'm not losing too much sleep over that because I think the number of GHC compiles are minimal, although obviously we have users because somebody came along and said that there was a problem. Oliver, if I had looked back, I'd have seen that. So instances, no, what am I doing now? We're just waiting now. This is just a waiting game. So that's pretty good stuff. I think probably what I'm going to do now is talk at you for a few moments just to get this through, and if we're not actually done restarting all the instances before I run out of things to say, then I'm probably going to sign off because it's 3 o'clock and I've been talking for 2.5 hours and I've had a really good time, and still sad that there's only a few of these left. I might start trying to do these in the evening. So I have, on every Monday I do a Compiler Explorer evening as a result of a Patreon target being hit. So my Patreon, I'm delighted to say that I get over $1,000 a month, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. Which means that, again, if I make a mistake and actually have all of these things running for too long, then I'm not actually bankrupt. It still costs $400 odd a month plus other miscellanea from time to time, but it's great, it's awesome. So thank you. But as a result of reaching this level, oh, it's not even showing up on here. I dedicate one evening a week, even outside of not having a job. I dedicate one evening a week to Compiler Explorer, and I might start live streaming that. But I think, you know, as lovely a time as we're having now, and as great as that is, you know, the streams that get the most people watching them, although actually I can't see how many people are on now, are the C++ ones, and that's actually what I quite like doing. So maybe I'll alternate something like that. And Andreas has said, did you say I'm from the Guildford area? Yes, I am. I was born outside of Guildford, but I spent most of my formative years in the small town of East Horsley, right next to Effingham Junction train station. If you're around Guildford, you've passed through it many times, in which case you pass within about 20 feet of 100 feet of my parents' house where I grew up. 42 watching. Oh, golly. Well, that's quite a lot then, isn't it? Hi, 42 people. Random strangers on the internet and friends. And oh, we've got one. One's been updated. But yes, I grew up in Guildford. Is the 400-ish just from site usage? Yes, they do. So I'm not ashamed. I don't have much stuff that isn't Compiler Explorer related. So let's go and have a look at my billing dashboard, and I can sort of show you some of this stuff if you're interested. Yeah, don't execute if the output window is closed. That's true, but if it fails to execute, then I think they'll get an error, and that's probably, you know, like the thing will flag and go red and go say, hey, that didn't work. So yeah, currently it's going to cost about 425. Or rather, it's forecast to be 481, and most of this is EC2 instances, which is paying for those things, the computers, right? The compute resource. There's a non-trivial amount that comes from EFS. EFS is where I store all of the compilers themselves, and it's like a network drive. And I can probably reduce that a little bit because we're storing more information than we need to there right now. CloudFront is the front end. That's like caching and forwarding of requests and things like that. That's actually more expensive than I thought. $25 just on data transfer is interesting, and then $40 on other. I don't know what other would be here. Probably storage and actually, I don't know. Let's click that. Let's go find out where it is. CloudFront, data transfer, 20 cents on DynamoDB. There you go. That's how much it costs to host the short links ourselves. S3 is $20. Okay, that makes sense. That's just storage of the raw form of all the compilers, and a lot of caching that we do. We do like have a days long length amount of cache there. I have some personal stuff in S3 as well, but I tag them and I only bill when I do my end of month stuff. I have to do tax returns for this stuff. So I have to justify to my accountant why some of this stuff is okay to come off of my tax return. SNS. So $20 is spent on sending me text messages. That's a lot. 19.931 notifications. Well, that's interesting. First 100 estimations to US per month are free. Yeah, that's weird. I didn't realize it was as expensive as that to receive text messages. I mean, I like to get text messages. It tells me when like the node count's going up and down. I have one right there. Or in fact, I have also one from my mum. Hi, my mum's saying, a parcel just came for Dad. Is it something from you? I don't think so. Sugar, though. It is Father's Day coming up soon, isn't it? I have to remember that. Top tip, Father's Day, those of you who are lucky enough to have a father to worry about. And EFS we've talked about. ECC. Now we can actually have a look at this. So $51 in no region. Oh, that was I bought a reserved instance for our tiny management system. My cost breakdown is way out of date. Yeah, good point. Thank you. I'm going to note that down. You're absolutely right. Again, I said this was padding, right? So Patreon breakdown. Out of date. Yeah, so all right, $50 of the ECC this time was me buying a year's worth of the management node. Woo! And then a lot of this stuff comes from like our T3 mediums, 32, and then this is the builder instance. This is the thing that we build the compilers with every night. So all of the trunk builds for all of the Clangs and GCCs come from this Linux instance that we fire up to run, and it runs for a few hours and then it shuts itself down, and that's one of the most expensive things. Yeah, most ISPs have an email address you can send to that will forward as a text to your phone. That's interesting, actually. Or yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't know if my ISP does. My ISP is a bit of a funny one, but yes, that's a good call. SMS stuff. And I mean, actually, a push notification would be better even still, right? There must be something that does push notifications for Amazon. So, where were we? So, like, the majority of the nodes are these T3 mediums. Yikes. Which we're paying $32 for. A lot, this giant instance here. Where the heck are the C3s? Oh, they're down here. C5 large spot instance. So isn't that interesting? These spot instances are cheap. You know, we're paying $40 for all of those different spot instances, and those are supposedly much more powerful, but maybe not. Oh, mobile providers. Oh, yeah, I'm using Google Fi is my provider. Woo! Yeah. I wonder if I can get that to work. And to be honest, an email with a notification alert on my phone would probably be fine as well if I could work out how to do that. So that's $180, which is really more like $150. And of that, most of this is the giant instance. And if I don't know if it was this month, but there was a time when I accidentally left it running due to a bug. Whoops. So that was bad too. I should probably just have a cron job that shuts itself down. Yeah, DynamoDB. So, data transfer, $25. Sure. Whatever you say. 50 gig, 0 cents. Where the heck is this $20 coming from then? Oh, there it is. Regional between EC2 or ELB. That'll be it then. Wow. 2,290 gigabytes. Who'd have thought? That's pretty cool. Oh gosh. Excuse me. Yeah, so 2 terabytes of transfer is happening between the availability zones or ELB. I can only assume that's ELB. Where is ELB? Elastic Load Balancers. It must be that. Well, there you go. That's what cost me the monies anyway. And I'm going to sneeze again. Oh dear, it's all falling apart now, isn't it? But yeah, that's not the only costs. The paper trail thing here costs a minimal amount of money, but is invaluable to me. We also have, these are various other apps, most of which are free. StatHat is free. Sentry is not free. Sentry aggregates all of the JavaScript errors, anonymizes them, and then gives like something to look at. But yeah, data transfer, that's weird. But I mean, I don't mind paying $20 for data transfer. Excuse me. That's completely reasonable, right? It's just, one doesn't know I don't know what the right... Oh, here we go again. The noise is starting. I don't know what the right amount is to be paying for this kind of stuff, right? As far as I can tell, I have friends who have offered me dedicated hardware, and that would be great, but then I'd have to manage it all myself in a bit different way. And I've got, people have said, oh, we'll just pay for it. And I like the fact that Patreon gives people the ability to give me a very small amount, or as much as some people have very generous amounts. So Oliver, I'm looking at you. Thank you very much. There's absolutely no need to continue supporting me as great as you have done, although I appreciate everything. But, I'm very, very fortunate to have that amount of support without the sense that I'm being controlled by, or the site, more importantly, is being controlled by one entity. So, Google said, hey, we could probably do something. Amazon have made overtones for, sponsor it in some way. And I don't like the idea of, corporate sponsorship like that, where they would, provide the stuff. It's like, hey, here's the stuff. Because then if I need to move between providers, I'm sort of at their beck and call to some extent. So So yeah, I have. If I don't know if you've ever noticed. I mean, again, we really are padding now. This is just the worst kind of content, YouTube content. But here on the other list, we have got thanks to, and anyone who has supported on Patreon has somewhere in here your name is mentioned, and we thank you very much. And these fine individuals at the top here are legendary supporters whose names will forever live there at the top of the list. And Oliver is there himself. So there you go. Thank you, Oliver. And I keep saying Oliver with like an F sound, and I'm trying to sort of be mindful that that's maybe not how you pronounce it, because obviously I want to say Oliver, and maybe that's a better way. But is it a voiced or an unvoiced sound? Am I a f or a v? Because in my head I want to say v, but I'm acutely saying a f, and I'm sort of trying to make a more rhotic R at the end. Oliver, fur, I did try and learn Icelandic once. I spent about 6 years too long playing EverQuest. Oh, everything's finished now. I get to stop talking about it. But EverQuest, and most of the people I was playing with were Icelandic, and so I tried to learn a bit of Icelandic, and it's a tough language. But I learned a lot about how one talks about things and how one pronounces things, although I may have forgotten them. Anywho, where are we? We've got a site. And we're going to reload the site now because it shouldn't say site is being updated anymore. It says new execution support still. Okay, good. Thank you, Ruben. That means that your excellent work to change the message of the day puts back the old message of the day. That's great. So at the moment, unfortunately, anybody who has got like an ad, as I call them ads, that appear at the top of the website, that is not going to show. We're instead just going to have this execution support A.out button, which is not the best wording. But here we are, we're now running, so let us just double check that we can do the same thing with Clang 8.0.0, and we can do it with -stud lib equals C++, no, lib C++, and indeed it works. We didn't have to put -pthread, and it found the library information needed. And we can see the LD library path, in fact, is appearing in here, which is just joyous and wonderful. So the fur, I'm trying, mate. All right, it's about to get very loud here because I think they're about to blast off some of the sound, the stuff behind me. So this is as good a time as any to thank you all once again for watching. I'm hoping to do this again tomorrow, maybe Thursday and Friday as well. One of the days I'll do a C++ ones, hopefully. And if not, next week I'm starting my job, as I've said, so I'm super excited about that, but I'm also disappointed that I won't be able to do this as much. But I'll try doing it in the evening, which unfortunately will mean a different probably clientele from you good folks that I'm seeing in the chat window now, because I realise the time zone won't work as well for you. Weekends are an absolute catastrophe with small children, so I can't guarantee anything around the weekends, but Monday evenings my time, sort of 9 through 11 p.m, which is, too early in the morning for most of my European friends. But oh yeah, IOStream, thank you. That is a good point, Matthew Parnell. This is not the IOStream version, which is not the proper check. Oh, stood, see out. Let's try that. Otherwise, we're not testing like with like, right? Yay! Okay, that's it. Will I be in Paris soon? I'm afraid I won't be in Paris. No. Before, there are two reasons. It's at the time I was expecting that to be about the time that my product would launch, but my product won't be launching now for my old company, and it's very close to my eldest's birthday, so I would have probably not been out then. And we actually, this time last year, when I also was out of a job, we visited Paris and a bunch of other places. So we've kind of recently ticked that off as a family holiday destination. Otherwise, I would be there. But thanks everybody, and again, thank you to my supporters. Very much so. I appreciate what you do. I mean, it allows me to do this and not worry quite as much about the cost, and that's just so liberating. So thank you all, and I will now awkwardly look for the button that turns off the stream for the next sort of 3 or 4 seconds, so bear with me. Oh, my wife just texted. It's raining, she said. Yes, it is raining. It's hacking it down. Yeah, I'm still searching. Are you ready for a girl like you. No, that's not the right application. Oh, I don't know if I may have even closed the control panel for YouTube. Ha! I've popped out the box, you see. And no, that's not it. Is that it there? Yeah, oh, I found it, hooray! This is daft. Okay, now I can end the stream, and I will see you another time, I do hope. Bye for now. Oh, and, and it's because now it's popping the "Are you sure?" Yes, yes,